The show is produced by Daniel Nerman, Ellis Cho, and Jennifer Keene, with help from Caroline Ferris. I'm Paul Haversrud. Thanks for listening.
This is CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg.
The CBC News app delivers the answers you want to know and need to know.
What an extraordinary scene.
The breaking stories that shape your world. Reporting from the scene onto your screens.
Dropping the 8 now, we're just approaching Gaza.
Your source for mobile news. Delivered when you want, where you want.
This situation has changed very quickly.
The CBC News app. Download for free.
You know the feeling of finding a really good podcast? Or the feeling of someone always being there, like your favorite radio show. Stream CBC Podcast.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon, I'm Josh Crabb in Winnipeg. At noon, it's partly cloudy and 19 downtown, mostly cloudy and 20 in Brandon, mostly cloudy and 20 in Thompson. A woman is dead after being hit by a cruiser car driven by Winnipeg police last night. It happened just off River Avenue in Fort Rouge Park around 9:30. Police say they were returning a person to an encampment along the riverbank. Officers say while they were driving in the park, they hit a woman in the area. They say they provided medical care to the woman in her 30s, but she died in hospital from her injuries. The Independent Investigation Unit, the police watchdog, is investigating. Winnipeggers have definite thoughts on what they want from a new police chief. Current chief Danny Smythe retires this week. CBC commissioned a poll by Probe Research which asked 480 people in the city about their biggest concerns. 70% say downtown safety needs to be addressed. Dealing with petty crimes is also high on the list for many polled as well. Mary Agnes Welch is a partner at Probe Research. She says the new chief needs to do more outreach.
The police chief needs to build better relationships with community groups, the Bear Clan, that sort of thing. And also try to deal a bit more fairly with BIPOC folks, building those relationships and that level of trust with Black, Indigenous, people of color, racialized folks in Winnipeg.
The city has yet to name its next police chief. It's back to school week across Manitoba. Students will go back starting tomorrow, but teachers are in class already. Autumn Yee is a grade 8 teacher at La Vérendrye School in Portage-la Prairie. This is her first year with her own classroom. It's also the first year with a province-wide cell phone ban for elementary school students.
I know that it's, again, going to be approached with kindness. I'm not just going to go walk up to a student and grab their phone away, but it would be a conversation and some mutual understanding and, of course, respect in everything that I'm doing.
Yee admits she has some first-aid jitters, but is excited to have her own classroom and looks forward to getting to know her students. China has Canadian canola producers in the crosshairs. Beijing has announced it is launching an anti-dumping probe into canola imports from Canada, and it says the investigation is directly linked to the tariffs announced by Ottawa last month. They cover Chinese electric vehicles, steel, and aluminum. Beijing warns it will take all measures necessary to defend the rights and interests of Chinese companies. Last year, Canada shipped $5 billion worth of canola products to China. Ukraine's president is vowing to respond to one of Russia's deadliest strikes since the start of the war. At least 51 people were killed and hundreds more injured following an attack on the city of Poltava. As Anna Cunningham reports, the targets that were hit were part of the Ukrainian war effort.
Emergency services rushed to the scene in Poltava. Ukrainian officials say a military facility and a nearby hospital were struck. The Institute of Communications is where cadets and soldiers were likely training when it was partially destroyed by Russian ballistic missiles. Eyewitnesses say people were hit as they headed for bomb shelters. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says while some victims were rescued, Many remain trapped under the rubble. The Ukrainian military says searches are ongoing. Poltava is not on the front line, but it is within targeting distance of long-range missiles. President Zelensky has ordered a prompt investigation into this latest attack. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
More than 120 people have been killed in a prison break in the Democratic Republic of Congo. That is cell phone video showing bodies being loaded into vans. The country's security minister says many of the dead were killed in a mass stampede. The prison, which is located in the capital, Kinshasa, was built to hold 1,500 prisoners. In recent years, however, the population has gotten as high as 12,000. 12 migrants are dead after a boat attempting to cross the English Channel capsized near northwest France. Helicopters and boats are searching for survivors in a large-scale rescue operation currently underway. Dozens of rescued migrants are receiving emergency medical treatment in France. Last week, the leaders of France and Britain pledged to work together to crack down on migrant smuggling routes. The UK says in the past week, more than 2,000 people arrived on its shores in small boats. Winter is coming, but first... Game of Thrones memorabilia is being put up for auction. Fans can bid on costumes, props, and set pieces from the hit show that ended in 2019. More than 2,000 items, including a melted version of the coveted Iron Throne, will be on the auction block next month in Dallas, Texas. Preliminary bidding starts now at a pretty penny. Opening bids range from $500 to $20,000 US. Everything from Jaime Lannister's full suit of armor and sword to Jon Snow's notorious Longclaw sword are on sale. That is CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local news is at 12:30, taking a look at weather in Winnipeg today. Mainly sunny, wind from the south at 20 and a high of 30. Brandon, a high of 31. Dauphin, a high of 30. In Thompson, rain and the risk of a thunderstorm, a high of 26. And in Churchill, a high of 22 expected today.
Good afternoon and welcome to Radio Noon. I'm Lori Hoogstraten, filling in for Janet Stewart. Beautiful summer day out there, heading for some very warm temperatures. What are we talking about? 30 degrees with a humidex of 34. And on our call-in today, it's more autumnal. We're talking about driver behavior in school zones with lowered speed limits. And we'll hear the latest statistics on what people report about that. We want to hear from you about lowering speed limits all over the place. Call us at 204-780-0893. And we're going to find out what it's like for new teachers preparing to start their careers in new schools. But first up, our theme's all about back to school. We're going to hear how a new organization is helping Black and African students at Brandon University. Yes, Black and African students at Brandon University are getting a boost from an on-campus initiative. The nonprofit called Loy Excellencia was created by University professor Aloysius Anichia. He says the organization offers support to students new to Canada or of African descent. CBC's Chelsea Kemp met him at its inaugural picnic over the weekend, and she first asked him why he started it.
I funded this initiative in order to support international African students here in Canada in order to help them get into the society, learn quickly, and excel in every aspect of their life. So we've a way of supporting them all around, being in a new country so that they be who they are in order to be the best they can. Yeah.
What did you see that showed you there were gaps when it came to supporting Black and African students and like postgraduate students?
Actually, it all started when I came to Canada because I came to Canada as an international student. So when I came, there were a few of us that were Africans, and the school was good in supporting, but there weren't anything specifically for African students. And so some of the social benefits, I would say, or social connections, we didn't have that, and funding. Personally, I had funding, but to access funding it was difficult for most international and African students. And so based on that experience, when I came here in Brandon, I noticed there are lots of Africans and they have lots of problems, challenges. Some of them will come into my office explaining how difficult it's been for them. And so thinking about those challenging situations, even not finding job and support they need, I thought it might be good to have something to bring them together, to support one another. And that is actually how it all started based on my personal experience. And so the gap is that there are lots of African students here, but being in a new environment, there isn't much support for that transition from Africa into Canada. The way things are done in Africa are a little bit different here, even the culture shock, the weather, and then even the education system is not the same. So a lot of them are struggling. Even people who are doing great in Africa, when they come here, they tend to struggle because some of these support seem to be lacking in the institutions. Yeah.
Are you feeling the effects at all about changes to international students? Does that kind of give a drive to help them more?
Oh, absolutely. I have lots of drive to do more because even today I met a student who came to Canada 10 days ago. 10 days ago. He said that
school right now.
Yes. So he said a friend who graduated here sent him the link, and he registered while he was out of the country. And once he came in, he didn't know any student here. And there's another student, the Mustafa, who said most people he met here today, he has never seen them before. So for me, it's a beautiful thing that African students will get to know themselves. They come together, share ideas, and support one another. So I'm pushed and motivated to do more.
For you, where do you see LEI building to? What's going to look like? What's success going to look like for you?
Part of the success for me is what I'm already saying, that people who have not met themselves before come together to share ideas. But I am hopeful and planning that it will go beyond Manitoba so that African students will get to meet each other, support each other, such that when someone graduates in one school can have a friend in another institution or another province that can help the person move, so that if a student graduates here in Brandon and wants to move to Vancouver, already has some connections there. Or if they move to another province, they have other students they've connected while in school. So these are the kind of thing I would want to see more happen.
What comes next this semester?
We at the beginning of this fall, we'll be having mentorship program. So we are calling already for people to register, and then we'll have a session for the mentees where we talk about a few things with regards to what it means to be a mentee, what to expect from your mentors, and the importance of mentorship in their programs, and then some topics like settling in a new culture and stuff like that. And then we have also that same kind of workshop for the mentors, and then we match them up so that throughout the fall semester they will be having meetings with their mentors at least once a month throughout the whole of the semester. So that's what we have after this picnic. I'm excited. I'm happy that this is happening, and students are already talking how they are feeling the impact of this, and that's what I am, so much happy for.
Aloysius Anitia speaking with CBC's Chelsea Kemp. He created the Loy Excellencia Initiative based out of Brandon University.
Hi there, I'm Gavin Crawford. I'm a writer, an actor, and a comedian. And for the last 8 or 9 years, I have been navigating life with my mother's increasing dementia. Has it been sad? Yeah. Has it been funny? Also, yeah. That's what my brand new podcast series, Let's Not Be Kidding, is about. It's the true story of my life as a comedian, my mom, and dementia. Let's Not Be Kidding. Get early access to episodes on CBC Listen.
You are listening to CBC Radio Noon. I'm Lori Hoog-Stratton. I want to let you know that on our call-in today, we are talking about driver behavior in school zones with a lowered speed limit. We're going to hear the latest statistics on what people report about unsafe driving in those zones. And we want to hear from you about what you've observed in school zones and in what other areas of the city or province cars should maybe be going slower. Call us at 204-780-0893, or you can text 204-588-7355. And taking a look at the weather forecast today, it's going to be mainly sunny with winds out of the south at 20, highs of 30 degrees in the Winnipeg area, with the humidex, worth mentioning, 34, and down to 16 tonight. Brandon, highs of 31 degrees, their humidex, 36, they win, and down to 13 in the Brandon area tonight. In Dauphin, Dauphin wins. Their humidex is 37 with a high of 30 degrees and 14 degrees tonight. Thompson, chance of showers late this afternoon and highs of 30 and lows of 8. And in Churchill, chance of showers and smoky, winds 30 gusting to 50, highs of 22. Some temperatures. In Brandon is 20, Churchill 18, Dauphin 21, Gimli 19, The Paw 25, that's the hot spot. Thompson it's 20, and in Winnipeg, 20 degrees. It is 15 minutes after 12 o'clock, and it's almost time. Thousands of kids from across the province are getting ready to go back to class, and while tomorrow will also be the first day for many students, it will be the first day for new teachers, too. And what's that like? CBC's Jim Agapito went to Portage la Prairie, where he caught up with a new teacher as she was setting up her homeroom for the first time.
Hi, I'm Autumn Yee, and I am a grade 8 teacher at La Vérandre School in Portage la Prairie. This is my first time having my own classroom, but I have a little bit of experience with teaching a class already. Because of that, I feel somewhat prepared, but there are a lot of new challenges that I know are going to come, and that's where I'm feeling a little excited, nervous. Either way, it's my first classroom, so I'm very excited for that. I am a little bit nervous about getting involved in a new community just because I'm from Winnipeg. I have not really been in Portage much before now. I have a security deposit on an apartment that I'm going to be moving into in November. Having an apartment is going to be the first time I'm living away from my parents. Of course, I'm going to go back and visit them, and I'm going to be in Winnipeg on weekends, but just so that I can just be a little bit closer to the community that I'm going to be working in and get to know it a little bit more so that it's not just a job for me, and then I know I'm not just here for the money. I want the welcome sign over there. I think that one might also go over there. I decided to become a teacher when I was in high school. I really, really loved learning as a kid, and academics has always been something that's been really enjoyable for me. What I wasn't the biggest fan of was some of the social things that were happening in school, wanting to kind of make a change to instill a love of learning that I have in some future students one day, or make it a little bit more fun. Because I found that's where I had challenges. If I wasn't really enjoying the content as much, I wouldn't really be as interested in learning it. Teaching also gives me the opportunity to be somewhat of a lifelong learner. There's always something there that I can learn about myself or about the world, and that's just something that's very important to me.
What time does class start at for you?
I'm going to be here around 8:15 in the mornings, and even though our school would be ending at like 3:30, I usually stay later to do whatever I need to do, if it's prep work, if it's marking. For a while I was working 3 different jobs on top of being a full-time student. I just did what I really had to do at that time. I can really spend my time trying to do my best for the one place that I'm dedicated to.
What is the first thing that you tell the students?
That I'm excited to get to know them. That's what I think will make it a better year for myself and for them, is if I get to know them and that I spend that time knowing who they are as people before I know who they are as students. This one is going to be going right over here under the Welcome to Grade 8 sign. How punctuation can convey emotions.
What's your favorite one?
My favorite one is question marks. I know some Mandarin as well. You don't use question marks for Mandarin. You have a character that you would say to indicate a question. So question marks being a very English thing to me. That's a lot of fun for me. Both my parents are Chinese, but my dad speaks Toisan and not Mandarin, so he didn't really understand what I would be saying. So I just reconnected with some of my own history and ancestry in the last few years, and I've been learning Mandarin for about 3 or 4 years now. So it's something that has been a very recent interest of mine. Since I'm teaching all of the homeroom subjects, I'm teaching math, science, social studies, and English, I wanted to combine them in a way that I haven't done before. I have used characters and given students characters before, so it's kind of similar to that, where they had to find a new perspective in their activities. Either way, I want to add some creativity into it. I need to think of where I'm going to move all the desks. I need to move that whole section over this way a little bit, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's going to be angled a little bit so not everything is too right beside each other.
Autumn, they still use these?
We still use notebooks, yep, because being able to write and having that printing skill is important, and since we're not going to be able to type every single thing up because we don't have Chromebooks in our classroom all the time.
There's going to be a cell phone ban.
That is going to be a new challenge for me. I do know that the school that I'm in has certain policies, and so does the division. So whatever that may be, I know that it's again going to be approached with kindness. I'm not just going to go walk up to a student and grab their phone away, but it would be a conversation and some mutual understanding and of course respect in everything that I'm doing.
Now you mentioned journaling. Tell me about that.
It's just a way to have some sort of regular writing activity where there's no real pressure on it. I would not be reading these unless if they wanted me to, just because that's a personal thing.
So you did this on your own, Onus?
Yes, I do this on my own time as well. I do use journaling as something to express my emotions and understand how I'm feeling a little bit better. So it helps me to regulate my emotions. I figured it would be good for students as well. Even if some of them don't hang on to it, it might be helpful for 1 or 2, and that's really all that matters.
If you were to give a message to yourself that maybe years you can look back, what would you say?
Oh, that's a hard one. It's good that I trusted in myself to make the decisions that I wanted to, and whatever I'm doing, I'm doing a good job.
Well, it sounds like those grade 8s are really in luck with Autumn Yee as their teacher at La Vérendrye School. That was CBC's Jim Agapito speaking with Autumn Yee. She's beginning her teaching career at La Vérendrye in Port La Prairie.
There are stories you just can't stop thinking about. They take you somewhere, they introduce you to someone, they share something new with you. Liftoff. Those are the stories you want to share with your friends, and CBC's award-winning documentary team is bringing them to you every week on Storylines. Storylines, new this season on CBC Radio 1, and always on demand on the CBC Listen app.
Well, here's a new song from Edmonton's Quinn River. It's all about growing up and leaving things behind, but also about looking back. Have a listen. This is Young Love.
Boy who ever broke my heart told me I was wasting my love from the start. He said you're too good to stick around for some washed up cowboy to let you down. I'm proud of the way that I live. I don't need much more than the dirt can give, but you need better than me, more than I am. I'm only gonna get in the way of your plans. Chase than a boy like me. Young love shouldn't be allowed. Tears you up or ties you down. Go on, girl, run while you can. Young love ain't part of the plan. Ooh. I'm the one that got away. He's the fool who said I was too good to stay. He remembers watching me go till I was nothing but dust on the road. Wide eyes and big dreams, better things to chase than a boy like me. Young love shouldn't be allowed. Tears you up or ties you down.
out of Edmonton, that was Quinn River with Young Love. You're listening to Radio Noon. It is 25 minutes past 12 o'clock. It's back to school season now that the Labor Day weekend is behind us, and that can be a stressful time for students, especially if they're going to a new school. CBC's Meg Roberts spoke to some students to get their tips on how to start the school year right.
Don't mind if people talk bad about you, because honestly, just be chill. There's nothing really to worry about.
Have the right materials and everything, be ready, and be yourself. Yeah. Oh, always bring a lunch, so you're not hungry. So, spoken from experience. Forgot many lunches, but yeah. Be who you are and be proud. So, yeah, you'll have a good year.
If I'm gonna be honest, do care about your studies. Even though it's the first few weeks of school, it's still a serious thing, right? Because if you goof up once in the beginning of the year, it's gonna weigh you down for the rest of the semester. And yeah, that's all I could give out. For kids younger than me, I'm gonna be honest, just take it with a light heart while being serious, it's school, right? You don't gotta, be too serious about it. You gotta enjoy it, right? You're there for 6 hours a day. You have to be really, nice about it.
Be aware you'll get harder math. I would say have a good fit, but also be it's not as bad as you think it is, and just gotta go through it.
Have a good fit. What do you mean by that?
Having nice shoes, some pair of decent shorts, some dress pants, maybe a nice t-shirt or a sweater. That's all. It might be really scary at first, but once you walk in and knows a teacher or something, or even just ask somebody, it's just then get through it.
Be kind or never mind.
What do you think that means, that message? What does that say to you, that message?
It's saying that you should be kind, or you should just walk away.
Bring colored pencils and supplies. Be brave to go back to school if it's a little bit scary. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm going to a new school. So if they have a scrunchie, they can give it to you and wear it around your wrist to remind you of them.
You can wear your mom's scrunchie.
Yeah.
Well, is that what you'll be doing?
Yeah.
That's a good tip, absolutely. Well, thanks to CBC's Meg Roberts for that.
22 and not knowing what to do. I had just come out of love and was falling hard for you. Out of town and running out of time. I had my whole life in my head, but I couldn't make up my mind. And if I'd had to be someone, I'd been the one for you. But I couldn't keep chasing my mind, couldn't keep falling behind. It was happening time and time again, it's true. 22. All the way, on days that did go by, I turned myself away from pain till I couldn't even cry. Through and through, you worked those fingers blue. You couldn't come across another one played as hard as you. And when it seemed to eat you up that we would never love, it was me who dealt the pain. Now I'm just out here chipping away. I'm trying to train my brain to not do that again. Going all the way. Winnipeg, what an awful place to be. But I still miss those cold nights down on Osborne Street. Pissed me off when I took my final walk. No more Eric, no more Blue, and no more Curtis Falk. Those folks could sing the night away. You could barely feel your toes.
Micah Ehrenberg, a.k.a. The Secret Beach, played the Ship and Plow in Gimli this weekend. You're listening to Radio Noon, and coming up on our call-in, school is back, and it's time to slow down, especially in school zones. And we're going to hear from a CAA Manitoba expert, and we hope from you about how drivers pay attention or not in school zones. What do you see in your neighborhood? What do you think slowing down traffic might do? Give us a call, 204-780-0893. The news is next.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon. I'm Josh Crabb in Winnipeg. Partly cloudy and 21 downtown. It's 23 in Brandon and 23 in Thompson. We're learning more about what police are calling a tragic incident in Fort Rouge Park in Osborne Village. Officers say last night around 9:30 they were taking a man back to his home in an encampment along the riverbank. While they were driving in the park, police in a cruiser car hit a woman in her 30s. Acting Chief Art Stannard says the officers performed CPR on the woman, but she died of her injuries in hospital. He says they can't discuss many details because the Independent Investigation Unit now has the case. But Stannard says officers do take people directly to their homes, even if they are in encampments.
The encampments, as you know, are on the riverbanks, so they're hard to get at. And so if there's a route or a path that can get you to that location, they may use it.
Stannard says he understands family and friends of the woman will be frustrated by the lack of information they are releasing. He says the officers involved are devastated. The Premier is in Brandon announcing money to fix up one of the city's main thoroughfares. Bob Canoe and Transportation Minister Lisa Naylor are announcing nearly $10 million to resurface 18th Street. The road work will extend from Aberdeen Avenue in the south end of the city up to Rosser Avenue near the 18th Street Bridge. Starting today, there are new employment standards for gig workers in British Columbia. They put in place a minimum wage and other protections for people who gain employment through apps such as Uber or Skip the Dishes. Yvette Brend reports.
As of today in BC, gig workers will get a minimum wage of $20.88 per hour. They'll also get access to workers' compensation coverage. This affects workers who use apps like Uber, DoorDash, or Skip the Dishes to access gig work. Kuljit Singh has worked for Lyft and Uber. He says the new rules don't go far enough, and many hours of labor will still go unpaid.
If you're spending 18 hours and you're getting like 13 hours wages, do you think it's worth it? How many hours you work?
Economist Moshe Lander of Concordia University in Montreal says the new rules are good politics, but may cost others.
The real issue that we need to see then is where exactly are these extra costs going to play out? Are they going to go to the consumer? Are they going to go to the company that's hiring the gig workers? Or are we going to see the gig workers eat the cost somewhere else? Say in the form of lower tips.
The changes will affect 46,000 workers in BC. It's estimated more than 8 million Canadians now work in the gig economy. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Vancouver.
And that is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local news is at 1:30, and for news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
And sitting next to Josh is weather specialist Riley Lachuk. Hi, Riley.
Good afternoon. Before I get into the weather, I have a bit of an ask.
All right.
I'm springing this on you. For our listeners,
yes,
our wonderful listeners, I'm looking for some weather pics to show tonight from the weekend.
Oh.
So if you were out and about, I don't know, maybe doing some harvesting, maybe you're in the garden, at the lake, looking for some weather pictures to show on the 6 o'clock show tonight, you can send them to me, talkback@cbc.ca. Don't forget to tell me who you are and where you took it and all that fun stuff.
Did you see the sunrise this morning?
No. I was still asleep.
Some of us were driving to work, and wow, it was amazing.
If you took pictures, I'd love to see them.
Well, no.
Okay, let's get into the weather.
Right.
We are looking at temperatures closer to seasonal again today across southern Manitoba. So 22 right now in Winnipeg, 23 in Brandon at the moment, 26 in the Pas, 23 in Thompson. We do have an air quality advisory still through the Pas, Flin Flon, Lynn Lake into the Brochet area, that sort of that western side of the province into northwestern Manitoba because of wildfires burning in Saskatchewan, pushing some of that smoke further into parts of western Manitoba. Mainly sunny for us in southern Manitoba, a bit of cloud and some showers moving into the north. This along a bit of a cold front that is pushing into the province. This will drag our temperatures down over the next couple of days, which I'll get into in just a moment with a look at your long range forecast. But looking at the analysis from wildfire smoke in particular, talking about the air quality. We will see the winds, northwesterly winds into Wednesday, start to push a little bit of that haze from western Manitoba into the south again. So places like Dauphin, Brandon, the Interlake, maybe seeing a bit of haze in the morning. Bit of a hazy one for us in the south here tomorrow as well through the Red River Valley. But that does improve as we see wind shifting around into Thursday again. So that cold front I was talking about pushes through as we get through into the morning tomorrow, brings us a chance of showers pretty much throughout the day through central and western Manitoba. Best chance of some showers here in the Winnipeg region comes overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Otherwise, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures a bit cooler, though, through Thursday into Friday in particular. We won't start to see temperatures rebounding until we get into the weekend once again. Today, looking at a high of 30 in Winnipeg, 31 in Emerson, mainly sunny skies throughout the afternoon, high 20s through northwestern Ontario, 29s through the Westman region, 31 in Swan River, and looking at a mainly sunny sky in the west as well. I've got us at 25 for Wednesday, 20s for Thursday and Friday, and rebounding back up to 25 by the time we get through the weekend again.
I like that rebound word.
Yeah.
All this stuff about it being fall, just because kids are all going back
Yeah,
to school. Ha ha ha. It's going to be
exactly.
summer for us grown-ups. We don't have
exactly.
to go. Well, thanks very much, Riley.
You're welcome.
And you're listening to CBC Radio Noon. I'm Laurie Hoogstraten, filling in for Janet Stewart. And time for the call-in portion of our show. We want you to give us a call at 204-0893, or you can text us at 204-588-7355, because most Manitoba students start school tomorrow, but school zone speed limits are already in effect. CAA, the Canadian Automobile Association, issued their back-to-school alert today to remind us why it's important to slow down. And on our call-in today, we want to hear from you. What's been your experience navigating school zones? And what kinds of driver behaviors have you observed? Do you think speed limits should be lowered in other parts of the city or province? Or maybe you've been fined while driving through a school zone. And we welcome your comments. We want to hear your questions and suggestions of how to keep our streets safer for everybody, because our guest is Government and Community Relations Manager for CAA Manitoba, Evald Friesen. Hello.
Hi, Laurie. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's lovely to have you here. You know what? I'm going to get you to answer all the questions and comments. And when people give us a call at 204-780-0893, or as I'm saying to you out there in Radio Land, you can also text us at 204-588-7355. And, you know, all summer long, the school zones, there's one very near where I live, and you get so used to going 30 that when June comes, you forget that you can now go 50, and then when September comes, you forget that you now have to go 30 again. And you can see people kind of zooming out, you know, oh yeah, it's a school zone, even though the kids aren't back, but it's in effect, right?
Yes, most certainly is. I liken it to the first snowfall of the year. So we kind of forget how to drive, and we have this false sense of confidence.
Yeah.
And so too with school zones. So let's dispense with something very important right off the bat. What is it? How quickly can I drive, or what constitutes speeding in a school zone? So in the city of Winnipeg, between September and June, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5:30 p.m., the speed limit is 30 kilometers an hour. Outside of the city of Winnipeg, unless it's stated otherwise, the speed limit is also Monday to Friday, 7:30 to 5:30. But if there's no indication at all, assume that the school zone speed limits are in effect.
Right. And even if it's like a statutory holiday or anything like that, it's still in effect.
That's right, unless it's stated otherwise on the signs outside of Winnipeg.
Now, I mentioned the CAA put out their back-to-school alert. What's the main message there?
So we do surveying on all types of driving behavior, everything from distracted driving to cannabis-impaired driving. And of course, school zone safety is no exception. So year over year, we see the same troublesome behaviors. We see motorists stopping on crosswalks. We see speeders. We see distracted driving. We see some parents dropping off their kids across the street from their school, which of course means the kids got to run through the drop-off zone. We've even seen folks stopping within moving traffic to let their kids out, which of course is all kind of hair-raising stuff.
Yeah.
So, of course, this year's results are quite similar. We see a lot of these same behaviors. The big one that I would be remiss if I didn't talk about is the question of school buses. So similarly, we don't see them for a few months, and naturally we assume school buses don't exist. Now they're out there in force. So how do you behave around a school bus? So your friends here at CAA are here to help. So when you see yellow lights flashing on a school bus, that means it's time to stop. You are to stop 5 meters away from the school bus, and that means in front or behind. When
Both directions.
Both directions. That's right. Assuming there isn't a median lane, right? So when the light turns red and that safety arm comes down, stopping is, of course, no bueno, not permitted. And it is there's some serious fines associated with it, including a minimum fine of $674 and 2 demerits.
$674 and 2 demerits.
Yeah.
Well, that focuses the mind wonderfully going into a school zone. And actually, we have callers on the line already, and we would like more people do call in because this is a good discussion. Call us at 204-780-0893, and we're going to go to Lori. Hi, Lori.
Hello?
Hello. Hi, Lori. This is the other Lori.
Oh, hi. Hi, Lori. Yeah, my comment was I've seen shows on TV and from other countries where they actually paint the speed right on the road. And to me, it's such an easy thing for the city to do. I know when it's snowing, you might not see it, but otherwise, it's right there in front of you.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion.
Yeah, had you heard of that before?
Not within the city of Winnipeg, but I'm going to take that to my friend Mayor Scott Gillingham.
Yeah.
See what he has to say about that.
I don't know what countries it was because I watch a lot of international type, whatever shows, but they do it all over the city. Like, it doesn't just school zone, but on Henderson Highway, whatever. So I think it's a great idea, and it would be cheap. And I think would be really effective because it's right in front of your eyes,
That is a good idea because I know even going down, I'm going to say Inkster, which I drive down many times, but I think is it 50 here or is it 60? Because there's not a lot of signage, it seems to me. And if it was right on the road, there could be I didn't see the sign. Well,
both Loris in this call have pointed to something very important. So many of us wish to follow the rules. The challenge isn't that we're out there flouting the traffic laws, that kind of thing. It's an education problem, and it's something that can be filled. So this is a very, very interesting suggestion.
Yeah, it really is. And let's go to Gary. He's got a comment. Hi, Gary.
Yes, be careful around the speed zones, the change-ups, where it goes to 30. I tried to find a ticket because as I was at the speed zone where it said going down to 30, and I still ended up getting a damn ticket.
Uh-oh.
And that was a whole 6-month process to find out that it meant nothing.
And was it because you sort of glided into it at a higher speed, or what happened exactly?
No, I saw the 30-mile zone.
Yeah.
I was that's be at 30 kilometers. At the next block, and they still sent me a camera ticket.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's true of school zones, and it's also true of all sort of reduced speed areas. Those transition areas are very, very tricky. The one that always gets me, of course, is when I'm taking the number 1 back into the city, headed east. So if I do some fishing in the Whiteshell and coming back to the city, the speed drops kind of quickly from 100 right down to 80, and there's some AEDs, so automatic enforcement devices there, photo radar. Photo radar, as we know, however, will not affect your demerit points at all,
Right.
but the fine is certainly very real. Yeah, so being mindful of those transitions is definitely
Well, good to hear from Gary, and Lori had a great suggestion. So do give us a call with what your experience has been with school zones, school buses, just speeds around the city and the province in general, 204-780-0893, or you can text us at 204-588-7355. And just getting back to those transition zones, I always wonder, like, if it says, like up ahead, I can see it goes up to 90. Is it 90 as soon as I can read that sign, or do I have to have passed that sign?
Assume it's 90 right when you can see that sign.
Oh, okay. So as long as it's in my vision, if it's 100 yards down the road, it's still 90?
Err on the side of caution
Okay.
is always my advice.
But this is speeding up, not slowing down.
Oh, speeding up, slowing down. I mean, I have yet to I've yet to hear about incidents where people have sped up too quickly.
Okay.
However, of course, we would never advocate that, especially if it's unsafe to do so.
Right.
So obviously be aware of your surroundings, and then do keep, pick up with the speed of traffic.
Sure. Now, you're talking about school buses and dropping kids off and so on, but there's all those little patrols out there too. Like, I think CAA is involved in their training. Is that right? Or having them out there? What are the rules around that? Because some of those kids, I mean, they're so cute, but they're not that big.
No, they're not. They're not, and they're particularly brave too.
Indeed.
And we are.
Yeah.
We're very, very proud of our school safety patrollers. It's actually in its 88th year at the moment. It's a CAA program. Always has been.
88.
Always will be. And what's intriguing about that program is year over year we're seeing increased demand from the school. So if you're a school administrator or a teacher and you're listening to this, and you would like some school safety patrollers in your community, please give me a call. I'd be happy to help you out. So yeah, these kids are little leaders of tomorrow. We've seen it time and time again. I don't like to brag, but I myself was a school safety patrol
Were
program,
you?
so perhaps my career was preordained. Nonetheless, they're showing a lot of leadership skills in the communities, helping their peers cross safely. You can't miss them. They're wearing these lime green vests. They're very thrilled to be out there. So please keep your eyes peeled for our school
And
safety
obey
patrol
them.
programs. Yes, obey them. They wield a tremendous amount of authority out there.
They do.
Yeah,
They
and
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to say they're menacing, but they're certainly a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, small but powerful. Yes. Now, Gary mentioned that he got that ticket. It was caught on camera. Now, is that usual in school zones? Are there a lot of cameras, or is it sort of lurking policemen?
Increasingly, automatic enforcement devices are commonplace in all areas where there are serious concerns about traffic speed.
Okay.
So you'll see more and more of them. The data is quite clear. We do know that where there are photo radar cameras, we have reduced incidents of injury and fatality. So the road safety data is quite clear on it. We know that a lot of us are not too pleased by them, but they certainly do have an impact on.
Well,
the way we
and
drive.
when you see them, it's a reminder, like, oh yeah. Well, let's go back to the phone lines because we have listeners with lots to say on this topic. Hi, John.
Hi.
What's your comment? Hello.
I caught this part. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I caught this part way through, so I don't know if you've covered this already, but yesterday was a prime day where people aren't really on the ready because, the signs say one thing, and then you're thinking, well, this isn't, in your head, it's not a school day, it's a holiday, it's Labor Day. Has that been discussed already, or no?
Well, we just touched on it, but it's good.
Okay.
Were you a bit surprised? Did you think?
Well, no, I said I didn't hear that part, but let me just add my perspective
Yes,
on it.
please.
I think that, if that could be modified that way it is now and the signs could read weekdays except holidays, I think it would fit on a sign, then we wouldn't have. I mean, I think people aren't trying to break the law, and I think the school zones aren't really, active during Labor Day or May long weekend or whatever. So I don't know. I guess I'd like your guest comments on that, but I think it's a modification that would there's probably a great lineup of tickets if they were out there yesterday catching people and it wasn't even school day yet.
Yeah, I wonder.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, good comment. But I guess it's hard to know what is a holiday and what isn't a holiday for some things.
Yeah, I generally speaking, I don't think that it's common for enforcement to be out there enforcing laws to kind of do the gotcha thing. That's not particularly common. However, we now know that since we are in September, that the school zone speed limits are now in full effect.
Yeah.
So there's no ambiguity from today onward, right up until June. So, and again, those times are between 7 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. and the reduced speed limit is 30 kilometers an hour.
So, yeah, as you were saying to me, when in doubt, slow down.
When
right?
when in doubt, slow down.
Well, thank you very much for your call, John. And we have Erica on the phone. Hi, Erica. Oh, I guess we don't have. Do we have Erica on the phone? Hello. Just a minute. I think I'll. Hi, Erica.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. So my question is, I often notice that there are no signs around middle and high schools, which is something I have never understood because I think the traffic risk is almost higher there because young people are crossing without supervision and are in a brain development phase of taking more risks anyway. And so I'm just wondering about clarification about why I only tend to see signs around elementary schools.
Hey, that's a really good question. So it's made even more interesting by the fact that high schools offer certain facilities like a baseball diamond, for instance, or a soccer pitch, or something to do some sports at even during the summer months. So yeah, that's a very interesting challenge. I can't, of course, speak on behalf of the municipal government, and this is certainly something that is a concern that you could take to your local municipal representative. However, the focus on our youngsters specifically if I were to speculate, could be an emphasis on the most vulnerable. And when our most vulnerable do use our roads, we want to pay special attention. A lot of the poor driving behavior is ironically coming from parents. Which is something that always sort of raises an eyebrow with
like people dropping off their kids.
People dropping off their own kids, and so then there's some excellent ways to mitigate, traffic congestion in school zones. The first and most obvious, especially on a day like today, which is balmy, is maybe don't put away that scooter, that bicycle, that skateboard. Don't put it away just yet. So reduce traffic congestion by choosing alternative and active forms of transportation. Good for your health, good for congestion, and everybody's. It makes it a little bit smoother. And I mean, this is almost goes without saying that if you're doing a drop off, give yourself a little bit extra time. So we know that if you're in a hurry, we tend to make decisions that may not be safe for everybody around you. So build that in if you can.
Yeah. And also, as Erica was pointing out, maybe extending some of these ideas of how to behave in school zones, even if the speed limit isn't dropped, but around teenagers and so on who are, as we know, invincible.
Yeah, they are invincible, and I applaud them. However,
get ready to jump.
Get ready to jump. Thank you, Erica. That's a very good comment. That's a very good comment. It might even warrant a call to your school administrator or to your local representative to say
and find out what the thinking is.
What's the thinking? Yeah. What's the thinking?
And we've got a few minutes left, so do give us a call 204-780-0893. And Abel, Troy, a listener, called in to ask Wendy to pass on this question. He was wondering if there's any discussion about whatever happened to electricians offering in the past to install flashing lights at all school zones. Do you recall that idea? Somebody, I think it was a local businessman, said, I'll put them in myself. And do you remember that?
First of all, I want to applaud this gallant electrician. What an excellent suggestion.
Yeah.
And that's a very generous and safety-minded thing. If you're out there and you're listening, get back to me. I'd love to hear from you. I think that when it comes to driving behavior and safety, visibility is key. I mean, we do an annual cycling survey every year, and one of the best things a piece of advice we offer to cyclists specifically is visibility matters. The same is true in school zone. The more visibility you have, people want to do the right thing. People want to be mindful of how they drive, not only because of there's the looming threat of demerit points or a fine, but simply because it's the right thing to do. People are concerned with their community. So any way in which we can increase visibility and awareness is obviously something that can have a real impact.
Here's a text from a listener. Why isn't the speed limit on Inkster lowered in front of the Inkster Elementary School?
Oh, wow.
And I've noticed that. I come in on Salter, and there's a school, and it's 50, but it's a middle-year school, I think.
So that's Inkster is a very interesting case study for us at CAA. You might remember this spring we did our annual Worst Roads survey, and basically what we do is for a month-long period, we ask Manitobans to nominate a road anywhere in Manitoba that they think is the worst roads. That kind of get this dubious,
always popular,
dubious title of worst roads. So Inkster is what we call a usual suspect. It's been in our top 10 for 5 years in some capacity or another. And so there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that needs to happen on Inkster. We applaud the municipal government for making some road repairs. Obviously, most of the time, the issues that affect roads are things like the potholes. We're all too familiar with that. Crumbling curbs, signage that's maybe poorly timed, school zone safety areas that aren't properly marked. So these are all part of like a road safety web.
Well, maybe I've noticed Inkster is in such terrible shape you can't go more than 30, so maybe they're saving on the signs there. But I did want to also ask you before I let you go, do you find that there's less kind of opposition and so on to the lowering of speed limits? Are we becoming a more let's just slow down society in terms of like traffic calming or pedestrian-only streets? And do you hear that from drivers as well as non-drivers at all? Has the climate changed, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's two schools of thought. We do see more advocacy around the 30-kilometer-an-hour speed limit in residential areas. There are some advocates who sort of fight for that citywide. The flip side of this is, of course, traffic flows. What happens when it's 30 kilometers an hour? And we need to reroute, which we have to do occasionally here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, actually all over the province, as we're avoiding crumbling infrastructure and potholes. So what happens with traffic flows? This would slow a lot of them down. This is, there are a number of campaigns that are moving in that direction. I know other jurisdictions have adopted 30-kilometer-an-hour residential speed limits. In places like the UK, for instance, is becoming. So there is a trend toward increased safety, certainly when it comes to neighborhoods where people are raising families, etc.
Well, this has been a really interesting and informative discussion. It was so good of you to come here. Did you drive or did you walk?
I walked.
Good for you.
I walked. I took my own advice and I reduced congestion. We have a few tips that we would just like to let folks know about. If you're trying to be mindful of school zones, make eye contact with pedestrians. If you're a motorist, make eye contact. Do that negotiation before you cross.
Do you see me? Yeah.
You see me. I see you. We get you. Choose a spot that might be a block or two away from the school. Like call it your family spot. This is where we go. That's one fewer car outside of the school.
And a tiny bit of exercise.
And a tiny bit of exercise, of course. Wheel or walk. Those are always good ways to be active and to reduce congestion. And also, we do an annual distracted driving survey, and distracted driving is, of course, a thing outside of school zones. So cell phones and infotainment centers, let's just, put them down for a while.
Put them down. Well, thank you very much for being with us, and thanks to everybody that called in. We've been talking with Government and Community Relations Manager for CAA Manitoba, Ewald Friesen. Thank you for strolling over, Ewald.
My absolute pleasure, Lori. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. You're listening to Radio Noon. I'm Lori Hoogstraten. Thanks to everybody that put the show on the air. It's a beautiful day out there. It's going to be a hot one. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.